Namaste student. Today we are going to discuss about the structure of atom. Before structure of atom, in the last sessions we discussed about the Dalton atomic theory. In Dalton atomic theory, Dalton didn't explain about the chemical reactions in the ions. Means he didn't explain about the ionic chemical reactions. And even he didn't explain about how the molecules also formed. Just he explained about some chemical combinations. And he told that his atom is not divisible. At the end of the 19th century, many scientists did many experiments in study of the structure of the atom. Actually, why they focus on the structure of the atom? Why they got some interest on the study about the structure of atom means, when they are rubbing the bodies, when the two bodies are rubbing each other, the two bodies are acquiring some charge. How it is possible? And electricity can conduct through the gases also. But how? And in the electrolysis process, electric current do some chemical reactions. How it is happening? These all the doubts are leading towards the structure of the atom. But main thing is static electricity. In static electricity, we can by the help of the static electricity, scientists are shown more interest about the divisibility of the atom or constant particles of the atoms. Now in this chapter we are going to study about how the electrons were discovered, how the proton was discovered, how the neutron was discovered. We are going to study. Now with the help of one activity, we are going to show how two bodies, when they are rubbing each other, how they are getting the charge. Is there any proof? Just now we told that is when two bodies are rubbing together, they are gaining the charge. But how can we prove that is? How they are getting the charge? Now with the help of one activity, we are going to discuss. Here the aim is to study the existence of charged particle in a matter. So we are going to prove that is there must be a charge or existence of the charge on a body. For that, what I am taking material required here: comb, balloon, piece of papers, glass rod. So what I am doing this with this material procedure. Now I am taking the comb and I am rubbing with my hair. And I am placing that comb very near to the piece of papers. What can I observe here? These piece of papers are getting attracted by the comb. In the next case, what I did? I inflated the balloon. That balloon I kept aside, and I taken one glass rod, and I am rubbing that glass rod to my hair or a silky cloth. By rubbing this glass rod to the silky cloth, again I am bringing that glass rod to the balloon. What is happening to the balloon also? The balloon also getting attracted by the glass rod. How come it is possible? As we know that is by rubbing, they are getting attracted. This attraction only possible when there are the opposite charges are there, or when there are the charges are present. Here, by rubbing the bodies to each other, they are getting charges. Here, if you observe that is, they are getting the charge in the sense, they are definitely not the atoms. They are smaller than the atoms. But how they are getting the charge? From where they are getting the charge? Means, by rubbing these two bodies, the electrons are transferring from the one body to the another body. means they are taking the transfer from one place to the another place. So we can say that is here the charged particle is an electron or a charged particle also we can say. So here transfer of the charges occurring with this activity we can show that is there is a charge which is present on the comb or a glass rod. So we studied that how electron will take transfer from one body to another body with the help of the balloon and comb activity. When the body losing the electron, it becomes as a positively charged body. When the body is gaining the electron, that is called as a negatively charged body. On basis of numerous experiments and different activities done by the J.J. Thomson, at last he given one conclusion that is, atom is not indivisible, means it consisting of the subatomic particles like proton, neutron and electron. So we can study about the proton, we can study about the electron and we can study about the neutron also. So J.J. Thomson given the conclusion is atom is not indivisible and it consisting of the three subatomic particles like proton, neutron, electron. Now we are going to study about the discovery of the electron and as well as the cathode rays. Before going to the discovery of the electron and cathode rays, first of all we need to study about the discharge tube. What is meant by discharge tube? What it is contained? In 1879, William Crookes, a British scientist, William Crookes, created a discharge tube. This discharge tube contains sealed ends and it is attached by the two. So this is a discharge tube. What William Crookes did with this discharge tube? He told that is generally gases are poor conductor of electricity. In the discharge tube, he taken the gases and applied the 10,000 volts of the potential difference. And he observed that is while decreasing the pressure inside the glass discharge tube, the gas is also conducting the electricity. With this help, J.J. Thomson also did the experiment with this discharge tube. He taken this discharge tube and applied the 10,000 volts and he also decreases the pressure inside the discharge tube and he observed that is some energy rays are transferring or energy rays are developed from cathode and reaching to the anode. He given the names for that rays as a cathode rays. What kind of rays it is? Cathode rays. Why he given the names as a cathode rays here? Because these rays are originated from cathode. Now, what kind of experiment he did with the help of the discharge tube? Now let us go on to study. Now here, experiment conducted by the J.J. Thomson. So with the help of the William Crookes experiment, what he told that is when 10,000 volts of the energy if you are giving and as well as decreasing the pressure inside the discharge tube, gases are conducting the electricity given. What J.J. Thomson did here? J.J. Thomson, as we just now we discussed, he taken the discharge tube and he attached it to the 10,000 volts of the energy source. One side of the discharge tube we can call as a cathode, another side is the anode. When he taken the discharge tube and given the 10,000 volts of the energy here, he observed that is the pressure inside the discharge tube is 1 atmosphere pressure, 1 atm or 760 millimeters of mercury. At this case, he observed that is, as we know that is gases are poor conductor of electricity, it is not showing, this energy is not showing any effect on the gases. There is no effect, there is no flow of any rays. Later what he did, he decreased this 1 atmospheric pressure or 76 millimeter of mercury pressure to the 1 millimeter of the mercury pressure. So he decreases the pressure. At that time, the energy rays starts flowing from the cathode to the anode. So he again decreases this 1 mm to the 0.0101 millimeter of mercury. At that time he observed that is a green, faint greenish color or fluorescence he observed here. Fluorescence color he observed. A green, a faint greenish color he observed at the another end of the discharge tube. This is anode. From the cathode the rays are originating. What kind of rays he given the name? Cathode rays. So this is how he discovered the cathode rays. So we discussed about how J.J. Thomson did an experiment, how he produced the cathode rays. So these cathode rays are generating from the or originating from the cathode and reaching to the anode. We study. He given the conclusion that is these are negatively charged particles. How can we say that is? And there are some properties we need to know about the cathode rays so that we can get the proper information about the cathode rays. Here these are the properties, 10 properties. We are going to study individually one by one. Let us have a look here. Cathode rays are negatively charged. How can we say these are negatively charged? Means in the discharge tube, if you take, these rays are starting from the anode, cathode, and reach up to the anode. As we know that is only negative charges only will be attracted by the anode. So we can say this, these cathode rays are starting from the cathode and reaching to the anode means this is a negative one and it is a positive one. So means this positive anode will attract only negative charged particles. That's why we can call as a cathode rays are the negative charged particles, or cathode rays are negatively charged. Now cathode rays travels in a straight line. How can we prove it? Same discharge tube I am taking. In this discharge tube, while the cathode rays are starting from the cathode and reaching to the anode, if I am placing any opaque body here, this shadow will form on this another end of the discharge tube. So if it is showing the shadow means what we can say that is these rays, cathode rays are going in a straight line direction. If you are placing the opaque body, it is showing the shadow. Shadows are plausible only when it is straight line. So cathode rays produce the fluorescence. As we discussed in the last activity, what did J.J. Thomson, when the cathode rays are going and hitting to the anode or discharge tube side, so this end is become as a fluorescence, faint greenish color it will be. So we can call it as a fluorescence also. Now cathode rays cause the heating effect. Any moving particle will have the kinetic energy, and this kinetic energy is converting into mechanical energy whenever it is hitting to the another end of the discharge tube. Whenever it is continuous hitting to the discharge tube, it is getting heated. If you touch the TV or old Rendes TV, CRT tubes, CRT TV, if you touch, continuous working, if you touch means you will feel hotness. Means these cathode rays can produce the heating effect also. Now coming to the cathode rays shows a deflection in the electric and magnetic field. As I told that is these cathode rays are negatively charged. When we are placing another two electrodes, one is connected to the negative, one is connected to the positive. So like how it is going to the cathode, how it is going to the anode, here also I am placing one more anode here, so that what will happen, these cathode rays will be attracted towards this side. So that what will happen here, this green color will be appear, faint greenish color fluorescence will be appear. So what is happening here? Because of the anode means it is electric field, so that the cathode rays are deflecting here. Now for suppose if I am placing the positive here and negative here, anode here, these cathode rays will be deflected towards the upward side. So here this green color or faint greenish color will be appear. So what is happening here? These cathode rays are negatively charged. Because of the electric field, they are getting deflecting here. Now one more property. These cathode rays get affected by the magnetic field means, as you know that this current carrying wire produces the magnetic field. In the same manner, if you take this discharge tube, these cathode rays are having the electrons, and these electrons are going in straight line direction, means we can say that the current is flowing here. Whenever the current is flowing, it will create the magnetic field. This magnetic field, if you are placing one more magnet here, what will happen? If it is same side, means two same poles are came here in the contact, these cathode rays get deflected here, upward direction. For example, if it is south, it is placed here. With the help of the magnet, these cathode rays will be attracted towards the downward direction. Means what we can say that is current carrying means these electrons are flowing from cathode to the anode, means we can say that is electric current. Higher, the current carrying, these cathode rays are produced of the magnetic field. If you are placing the magnet very close to these cathode rays, they are getting reflected by this magnetic field. So this is about how the magnetic field and electric field show the reflection in the cathode rays. Now, cathode rays are independent of the nature of the gas. Whatever the gas you take in, these cathode rays will not be varied. It will be same in the all gases. It is independent of the nature of the gas. Now coming to the cathode rays produces the X-rays. This production of the X-rays will be happen when strong metals like copper and tungsten are placing in the path of the cathode rays. If these cathode rays are coming with a high speed and hitting to this copper and tungsten, and it will produce as the X-rays. How the X-rays can be produced by the cathode rays? When the cathode rays are traveling from cathode to another, if you are placing strong metals like copper and tungsten in middle of the path of the cathode rays, they will hit to the or strike to the copper and tungsten and produces the X-rays. Now, cathode rays travels with the speed of light. If you compare the speed of the cathode rays, they are almost equal to the speed of the light. Next, one more property. Cathode rays made up of material particle. As you know, that is material particle consisting of the mass. If any mass particle is hitting to the another particle, there will be a momentum will be occur. Change of the momentum will be occur. Look at here. If I am taking the discharge tube, in this discharge tube, I am allowing the cathode to produce the cathode rays. When these cathode rays are going from the cathode to the anode, if I am placing a fan like blades in middle of this path of the cathode rays, according to our point, it is a material particle. How can we say that? If I am placing this fan in the middle of the cathode rays, this fan starts rotating. How? When it will be possible? When a material particle hitting this fan, then it is only possible, means it is a material particle. So what we can say that is a cathode ray is a material particle. It consisting of some mass and it is having some material in it. It is so that it is hitting to this fan. This fan starts rotating. Property is cathode rays can ionize the gases. Here means if you take any gas inside the discharge tube, here you have taken the gas, the cathode rays are going like this. When they are hitting to the gas, this is the gas I am taking, cathode rays. They becomes H2 plus and 2 electrons can lose. By losing of the electrons, it becomes as a positively charged ion. So here, when I am taking the gases inside the discharge tube, when these cathode rays are hitting to the gas particles, these gases are losing the electrons. So they becomes as a ionized gases here. So we studied about how cathode rays are developed. What are the properties of the cathode rays? Now the conclusion given by the J.J. Thomson regarding the cathode rays. He given the conclusion that is, these cathode rays are made up of the negatively charged particles, or we can call them as electrons. And these electrons are having some definite mass and charge, which they did not depend upon any gases, means it is independent of the gases which are filled in the discharge tube. Every atom will consisting of these electrons, so we can say that is electrons are the fundamental particles of the atom. So these are the conclusions given by the J.J. Thomson by doing the experiment with the help of the discharge tube. So here, these are the properties of the electrons. So J.J. Thomson did many experiments and he did a discharge tube experiment also. He given the conclusion that is how the cathode rays are originating. Now we discuss the properties of the cathode rays also. And the conclusion also we discuss it. Now that we have to discuss about the properties of the electrons. The electrons are negatively charged subatomic particles. First property is electrons are negatively charged subatomic particles. Means in the atom we told that is atom is, Dalton told that is atom is indivisible. Thomson told that is atom is not indivisible. It is consisting of the subatomic particles like protons, electrons and neutrons. Means inside the atom particles will be there. These particles we can call as subatomic particles. Among three, one of the particle is electron. Next, second property is the charge on one electron is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. We discussed that is electron is a negative charged particle, means it is having a negative charge on it only. So this is the charge how we are denoting, minus 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. And this mass of the electron is very less compared to the hydrogen mass. Hydrogen contains one proton only. So this hydrogen proton mass compared to the hydrogen, the electron mass is 1 by 18040 of the mass of the hydrogen proton. Means which is equals to the 1 by 1840th unit or AMU. Here, these are also called extranuclear particles. Means, in the nucleus we know that is protons and neutrons will be there, and these electrons will rotate outside the nucleus. That's why we can call as extranuclear particles. The charge on 1 mole of electron is called Faraday. 1 mole means, we know that is, in the last chapter we discussed 1 mole is equal to 6.022 into 10 to the power of 23 particles. If these many electrons are containing this much of the charge, which is equals to 1 Faraday, means 6.022 into 10 to the power of 23 into 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19 is equals to 1 Faraday. Next, last one is all the electrons have the same masses, irrespective of the sources. From which atom you take that electron, from which element you take that electron, all the electrons will have the same amount of the mass. And that mass is 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg or 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 28 grams. Whatever the source you take, the mass of the electron will be same. So these are about the properties of the electrons.